Do you want to change your life? What's up, everyone? Howard Kingston here, entrepreneur, marketer, and co-founder of Growth Velocity Academy. In this episode, what are the 3 books that changed my life? So that's a big title, right? What kind of books can change your life? But in this episode, I want to talk about the books that really did. Now, I mean, quite literally, I'd be going one down path in my life, and then I read these books and it was an eye-opening moment and I changed directions. Now, I was on one of our summits recently. Every once a month or so, we do a half-day summit where we invite thousands of people to join a free training where we just teach people about marketing, about business, about content, stuff like that. By the way, if you do want to join the next one, do check out the link below. There'll be in the notes, there will be a link where you can join the next one for free. There's one every single month. Now, in that, I remember someone asking me a question at the end, like, what are the key books you would recommend I read to really change direction, to kind of get business success, to really change my life? And these were the 3 books I recommended her on the summit, and I really thought it would be useful to share that message wide. Here they are. Here they are. So let's go through them. All right. So book number 1 is The 4-Hour Work Week. All right. So I remember about 10 years ago, I was doing a PhD to get a doctorate. All right. Now, this is a person who had originally been kicked out of university. And I went back to university to study, which was great. And I was enjoying it so much, I got an offer to do a PhD, which is very kind of advanced. And I decided to do it. Not really because I had a really good idea of what I wanted to do with my life, more so because the opportunity was there and it seemed like fun at the time. But anyway, 9 months later, there I was secretly kind of on the side reading about like tech startups, and I was reading Wired magazine, I remember, when I should have been reading about these academic papers in the PhD. And I just knew I wasn't really enjoying it 9 months in. So I remember my sister actually gave me this book for Christmas. Now, I had never heard of it. It's called The 4-Hour Work Week. And I actually sat on it for about 3 months. I was like, that looks a bit weird. I don't think that one's for me. But then I read it and it was just like, it opened my mind to so many things around. There's a different type of life that you can live where you're not maybe, expected to stay in one place and do things the old way. And it kind of introduced me to hiring people from different parts of the world where maybe, you can be making money in one part of the world and have your team in another part of the world. So you have this like international arbitrage going on. And it just opened my mind to so many things. I remember one line that really stood out to me. Many lines stood out to me, but I remember one line that really kind of sparked something in my mind when he said, things get really interesting when you make money in dollars and then your team, or you're living in pesos. At the time he was living in Argentina, and also your team are getting paid in rupees. As in, there's kind of like an international structure of a company you can have there. Now that's just one of many, many ideas that really kind of had things go off in my mind. And just to let you know the impact it had on me, at the time I was doing this PhD, I quite literally, I remember exactly, I decided that, this whole thing about being a digital nomad, which again, he also talks about kind of living anywhere in the world when you've got an online kind of digital business. And I was just like, yes, this really calls to me. So I remember deciding to travel, and I decided to go from, I was living in Ireland, to travel to the other side of the world. And I remember writing a letter, completely true story, writing a letter in Dublin airport as I was to kind of quit my PhD. because you have to kind of, you have like a, what's called a, I forget the name of it now. You have somebody who's kind of like looking over your PhD. I had to kind of like resign from the PhD, and I knew that wasn't going to go down well. They weren't going to like that, but I wrote this letter of resignation from the PhD, posted it in Dublin airport as I hopped on the plane, and I have never looked back. And if I hadn't read this book, I wouldn't have done that. So guys, absolute recommended reading. And if you have read it, I'd love to know what lessons it's taught you. Book number 2 is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Now, this is, again, another classic. If you haven't read it, it's essential reading. And if you have read it, guess what? You probably haven't read it in ages, and I do recommend you reading it again. This is one that I go back to every few years. And again, some of the lessons in this, like even now with everything that's happening in the world with like COVID and all this kind of stuff, some of the lessons in this book will help you so much. Like, I remember one lesson in it is the lesson of focusing on what's within your realm of control. Now, that's one of the habits of the 7 habits, focusing on the realm of what's in your control. Because so many people, and I remember when I read this originally, I used to like focus on all these things that I had no control over. I have no control over politics. I have no control over the weather. I have no control over if that person likes me or not. We've no control over these things, guys. The only things you have control over is yourself and your reactions to things. So that's one of the 7 habits, and he obviously talks in more detail about it, but that had a really profound effect on me. And even now I see, when there's a lot of turmoil in the world, I see people that get really wound up with things that are just outside the realm of their control. They can't control it. And I just really focus on the things I can control, and serve me well. Highly recommend that, plus the other 6 habits that are in it are all equally life-changing. And then finally, last but certainly not least, is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Again, incredible book. I read this a few years ago, and it just completely changed how I thought and saw the world. Now, before I read it, I would say I was a little bit self-obsessed and things like that. I would kind of talk about myself a lot. And even though the title is like a little bit naff, a little bit corny maybe, How to Win Friends and Influence People, the reality is, just think about it. This book was written in the 1940s, and even today it's still one of the best-selling books out there. I think it's in the non-fiction category, it's one of the top ever selling books, and that's for a reason. And there's not many books that were written in the 1940s that are still so important today. And it's just absolutely fundamental. If you want to be good at marketing, if you want to be good at communication, if you want to be good in sales, all things that I am incredibly passionate about, this book will give you the best lessons, the most fundamental lessons you'll really of any other book I've never come across a book as profound as that one. You know, there's a lot of great stuff in there, including one or two of the things that I really got from it that had a big impact on me. Was the first one was this idea that, you know, guys, everyone just think, like, when you meet somebody, you talk about yourself and you kind of tell stories about yourself. But one of the key things you have to remember is nobody cares about you. Everyone just cares about themselves. And the more you can, when you meet somebody, especially for the first time, let's say at a networking event or something, if you just start talking about yourself and how great you are and some of the things you've been doing, sure, the person might find that interesting for a minute or two, but very quickly their attention will wane. Whereas really one of the ways to quickly gain friends and influence people is to show incredible interest in the other person. Ask them a lot of questions, and then they'll be brought into the conversation and they'll go away thinking that person was really nice. And it's a very simple idea, but yet so few people practice it. And when you read this book, you'll go around meeting people, and you'll almost think in the back of your mind, they should really read this book as well. So that's one of the many, many lessons I read from that book. So, guys, the joy of reading, it's like having books and investing in books. One promise I gave myself a few years ago was that if there was ever a book that I wanted, I'd never have a reason not to buy it. Like, even, no matter what it costs or anything, because the lessons that you get from the amount of money a book costs, let's say it's $10, $20, the ROI you can get from that book of someone's life lessons in about 300 pages, it's always, always worth it. So, and these are the 3 books for me that have had the biggest impact for you. I'd love you to share with me what are the books that have had the biggest impact on your life. Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3 different books. Or if you have actually read those books that I've just shared, tell me what you got out of them, because I'm always rereading those books. They're incredible. Okay, so guys, hopefully that's been useful for you. Do take action on that. And if there's 3 ways, if you need more help, I can help you straight away. One is I've got a free online community of people just like you, just like me, who are growing world-changing businesses, are passionate about marketing and content. Do click the link below. It's completely free, and I look forward to seeing you in there. That's the first one. The second way I can help you is I run a free live masterclass or summit twice a month. So every couple of days I'm running one, and I'd love to see you on there. I'll do it live, so we'll be able to interact and you'll be able to ask me any questions you want. And the link for that is just below in the show notes as well. And then third, if you know that you really need a little bit more one-on-one help, my coaching team, I've asked them to open up their calendars and offer some complimentary one-on-one coaching sessions for anybody who is on this, who is kind of listening to this message. Again, click a link in the link below, and you can book in for a complimentary game plan call where we'll help you plan out your goals, figure out where you're stuck at, and what are the roadblocks you need to overcome. So you can take advantage of all those things, or at the very least, do make sure that you take action on one of them. And I look forward to seeing you on the inside. Okay, guys, peace out, and I'll see you in the next episode.